It's history in the making. The Aussie V8s have crossed the southern seas to take on the Kiwis in the first Shell Series stoush to be staged on the All Blacks' home turf. Get ready for the ultimate Trans-Tasman challenge. The NZ stars of V8 Supercars are itching to kick some Kiwi sand in the Aussie faces. Radisich, Murphy, Richards, Faulkner, and Team Kiwi keen to do their country proud in front of a capacity hometown crowd. Fill up your chili bins and strap on your flip-flops. Hey, the 600 horsepower Commodores and Falcons are about to be cut loose on Auckland's fast and bumpy Pukekohe Raceway. Round 12 of the Shell Championship Series, exclusive to your home of international V8 motorsport, Network 10.
Hello, I'm Lee Diffie and welcome to the Boost Mobile V8 International, round 12 of the Shell Championship Series here at Pukekohe Raceway in New Zealand. It's a significant day in the history of the series, as this is the first time an international event will count towards the championship. There's so many talented Kiwi drivers in the V8 Supercar field and enormous support for the V8s from New Zealand. So it's very appropriate that we're finally having a round of the championship right here in NZ. 1996, 12 cars made the trip across the Tasman for demo events, one here and one in Wellington, but there'll be no demonstrating going on this weekend. This is for real. The championship is not over. There's championship points up for grabs. Let's take a look at the place where the battle will unfold this weekend. It is Pukekohe Raceway. It's very short, it's very fast, but it's also very bumpy. They'll reach speeds in excess of 260 kilometres an hour before coming to a grinding halt at the Holden hairpin all the way back to first gear, a great overtaking position. Now, speaking of overtaking, more than likely that's going to happen in the championship standings. Let's take a look at the points. Scape has that enormous lead and more than likely will wrap it up this weekend. We'll talk more about that later. But Russell Ingall, he can still win the championship. So too can Jason Bright. There's plenty of pressure on those guys. Likewise, Ford's top man, Steve Johnson, he has to defend from Greg Murphy. So there is a lot at stake in the Shell Championship Series. This is the second last round and it is far from over. Now, over the past 5 years, the Shell Championship Series has experienced an enormous growth phase, and this is the beginning of a new era as the V8s go offshore. Now, not only is it a landmark event because of the international status of this race meeting, but it's also the first time a championship race has been run after the big one, Mount Panorama Bathurst. This round, round 12, comprises of 3 100-kilometre events with compulsory pit stops in each race, and that is for tyres. The drivers know this is going to be a hard, fast and aggressive race meeting because there's so much at stake.
To New Zealand's V8 Supercar fans, Greg Murphy is the undisputed king of Pukekohe. In 1996, when the V8 Supercars last visited here, Murphy was absolutely on fire. He and his Holden Racing team Commodore were in sensational form, claiming pole position and winning all 3 races. 5 years later, the Murph is back, and he's still as fast and aggressive as ever. In Friday's practice, he set the fastest ever V8 Supercar lap of Pukekohe Raceway. And with a mathematical chance of finishing as high as second in the Shell Championship Series, you can bet the King is out to defend his crown.
It's not just Greg Murphy who wants the honour of winning on home soil. Paul Radisich has won 2 rounds this season, including the recent Queensland 500. Now, the gutsy Kiwi knows this track very well and raced here, in fact, less than 12 months ago at a local V8 endurance round. Right now, the 2-time Touring Car World Cup champion is 7th in the points on 1,895. But if the results go his way this weekend, and at the final round in Sandown, the Rat could overtake Murph and become the best placed Kiwi in the 2001 Shell Championship.
But it's Mark Scaife who has the most to gain here today. This is where he can wrap up the Shell Championship Series. If he does so, it will be his 4th championship title. He needs to finish just 13 points clear of Russell Ingall, and it can be done in race 1. If he does take his 4th championship title, he'll be just 1 shy of equalling the record of 5 set by Dick Johnson and Pete Gagan. So the pressure's on for Mark Scaife today, but expect him to race hard as he chases down his 4th championship title.
From the top 15 at Bathurst to the top 10 here at Pukekohe, Neil Crompton, welcome back. And this top 10 today was very exciting.
Fantastic, and it's got a great character, this circuit. There are so many lumps and bumps, high-speed corners, low-speed corners. The guys really love wrestling the cars around here, and there's plenty of fans enjoying it as well.
It was exciting for a number of reasons, some negative, some positive. Let's have a look at some of those incidents.
Yeah, well, it was very tight as always. There's usually very little between these guys, and it's exactly the same deal here. The first one to get into strife was Russell Ingall, jammed between two gears, and that really foiled his run, so he's going to start at the back of the top 10. Pretty frustrating because he should have been strong. Mark Scaife, as always, unbelievably competitive, but one of several competitors who actually went out on green brand spanking new tyres, and there's some suggestion here in the paddock that that maybe wasn't the right thing to do, because certainly people like, for example, Greg Murphy, who ultimately took out a stunning pole position, electrified the locals. He went out on lightly scrubbed tyres. So did Marcus Ambrose and several others, and I think that may have played to their advantage, and the team absolutely and justifiably thrilled.
Greg Murphy was absolutely thrilled with his performance, and rightfully so. It brought the crowd to their feet, and the Pukekohe V8 fans really, really enjoyed that. Let's take a look at the results of the top 10 shootout, because we know who was on top, Greg Murphy. But Mark Scaife will start alongside. He'll share that front row. Ambrose, the best of the Fords, and Todd Kelly. Then Larry Perkins, he's really on fire this weekend. Craig Lowndes, Glenn Seaton, Jason Bright, Stephen Ellery, and of course we know that problem with Russell Ingall. But on top was Greg Murphy. He's with Barry Sheen.
Yeah, that was an amazing effort, Greg. You know, I thought you've had a tear in your eye in front of your home crowd.
I just about did. I think no, it's pretty emotional. I mean, it's great to be here and being so competitive as well, and being fast and in qualifying yesterday was awesome, and being able to repeat that in the top 10 is just fantastic. And I mean, I think the crowd is certainly my motivation. You know, there's just so many of them here. They voted with their feet on how they want the event, and they've been starved of this for a long time. So to come home, this is the best possible result I could ever thought of.
So when you were out there, when you were doing your lap, did you have a lot of pressure on you? You think, oh dear, I've got to get the pole, but on the other hand, I mustn't spin it into the wall.
Yeah, sure. I mean, wherever you go, I suppose it's the case, but certainly you wouldn't want to be making a stuff up in front of all these people, and especially after yesterday. So I think a little bit before we went out for the lap, I was sort of thinking, you know, this one's got to be right, it's got to be right. And once you get on the track, that sort of takes over, and you can still make mistakes, but we didn't make one on that lap, and it was just right.
So this is the biggest motorsport event they've ever had in New Zealand, and how are you going to feel if you win it?
Oh, well, I probably will cry. Maybe. It is. It's huge. And I've been behind this a long time, and we got over here early in the week to really pump it up, and it is pumped up. I mean, there's just so many people here, and they travel to Australia all the time to watch the events, and now they've got their own, and that's very special. It means a lot to me. So emotionally, it is. It's pretty good.
Did great, Murph.
Thanks, mate.
Well, the Aussies are away from home, but the Kiwis are revelling in their backyard. More from Pukekohe right after this.
Great crowd in attendance here at the circuit, and it's a wonderful country to visit too. Really worth getting over here for a holiday. Jason Richards, you're a local. Can you believe the crowd support at Pukekohe this weekend?
Mate, it's massive. I mean, our merchandise tent is like 6 or 7 deep all day, and you know, the people, it's just fantastic. They're just coming up to us saying, go, go, go. You know, I can't believe it.
You've qualified 16th for the 3 races here this weekend. It's a bit of a tough starting position.
Yes, well, it's probably the best we've really been all year, and you know, we're in the middle of the pack, and hopefully things happen a little bit easier at the front, so that's where I'll be heading forward today.
Some consolation, I guess. You've been regularly in the top 10 in every session though, which is very encouraging.
That's right, I've been bouncing around in the top 10, and you know, we haven't done that before, so I think, you know, just the fact that we don't have to learn a new circuit, and maybe some of the Aussies do, you know, that's the advantage we're getting today.
That's a good point that you make, because you've been here before in a variety of other categories, and you also tested here once before with the Supercar, didn't you?
That's right, when we first got the car we did about 20 laps, demonstration laps for the public, and you know, maybe that little bit of advantage is paying off today.
It's great to be in your neck of the world, mate. Good luck today.
Thank you very much, Rusty.
There were some concerned faces earlier this weekend with the weather, but it's starting to come good. The forecast mainly cloudy, winds up to 30 kilometres per hour, and a maximum temperature of 21 degrees Celsius. But the day is getting better and better, that's for sure. Let's take a look at exactly where we are in the land of the long white cloud. We're right at the top end of the North Island, and we're just outside of Auckland. The track itself is about 40 kilometres south. The track is 2.8 kilometres in length, 7 corners, and very, very fast. And someone who can tell us all about it is Greg Murphy with the Kmart Inside Line.
Thanks, Lee. Welcome aboard the Kmart Racer of a lap of the Pukekohe circuit in New Zealand, and there'll be no sheep jokes this time round, I can promise you that. Around the sweeper there, very, very fast Pukekohe through the first of the chicanes. which leads onto the back straight. Only one of two sections of corners really on the circuit. Very, very long back straight. As we head on here, very important to get a good run onto the back straight, obviously. It's a very wide circuit here, and obviously you can run about 3 wide down this track. Just about run out of things to talk about as I go down here, but this is obviously a passing opportunity as we go 270 odd Ks into the hairpin, the Holden hairpin, down the brakes, on the brakes, down the gears I should say, into the first gear hairpin. Accelerate very hard out of here, up through the gearbox. It's a tricky one as we head into the next section of corners, which is very, very important to get a good run down the front. Big bump there as we go through, then we turn right, coming up over the hill. The lap's nearly over, now 57 seconds, wave to the fans, there they are on the outside, and then down the hill across the start-finish line, and it's all over in a flash. Thanks for coming aboard, we'll see you at the racing.
In the lead up to this weekend's Boost Mobile V8 International, the drivers had a few spare days to get in and around Auckland and have a look at a few of the sights and scenes around the city. Grant Denyer did his best to keep up with them.
A new round to the championship and new places to see. Not trying out for a role in the village people, but New Zealand's newest tourist attraction, bridge climbing.
Bob the Builder.
Hi, I'm Todd Kelly and I'm afraid of heights.
Hey, I'm David Bernard. Going to give you a description of what these two fools are wearing. Don't know why anyone would wear anything like that. He's got his traffic control shirt on, his parachuting suit.
It's a big weekend for the motley crew of council worker lookalikes. While Mark Scaife could claim his 4th Shell Championship title this weekend, there's a mad scramble on behind him. This man, Jason Bright, will have to climb to keep Greg Murphy off his tail. He's trying to bridge the gap by putting on a blockbuster of a performance in his native country.
Here we are, deep into the bridge. It's fascinating.
This has to be a concern.
It's a pre-opening visit today. In fact, when we do actually open commercially, everybody will be wearing belts which actually have a harness that holds them on throughout this climb. So today we're up here without harnesses, which is why we're wearing the bash hats and the covers.
What's scarier, going through the chase, flat out, 2 abreast, or standing on top of the bridge, not yet completed?
Wow, he's pretty dodgy. I think I prefer the chase because I sort of know what to do, but I don't know how I'd swim with one of these, mate.
With 900 tonne of team gear arriving by ship well before the event, these drivers chose a more classy introduction to New Zealand waters. On board NZL40, a multi-million-dollar boat built for the America's Cup and now used as a special tourist attraction on the harbour.
Yeah, listen, you know, I've always thought of myself as a bit of a sailor. That's about all. Just thought about it.
Obviously, I've had the luxury of being around the country, and I've spoken to a lot of people who have been saving up and been hanging out to get to Pukekohe. It's just, I suppose, a bit like what the Australians are like Bathurst, but imagine only having Bathurst every 10 years or something, you know, like it's that sort of mentality. And I think it's going to be, you know, amazing sort of response.
At least this man has won before. Murphy took a clean sweep of pole in 3 races the last time the V8s came. How are you feeling the pressure as the key New Zealander going into this weekend's championship round?
Oh, yeah, we've certainly probably put a bit of pressure on ourselves to try and do good this weekend. Obviously, it means a fair bit to have a good result this weekend in front of the home crowd and everything. And it's been a long time coming for the series to come to New Zealand. So can't be more excited than what I am about this weekend.
Smooth sailing it may have been in a boat, but turbulent times during this silly season with the rumour mill spinning overtime surrounding driver placements next year. You are also touted to be leaving HRT. What's your answer for that?
It's been quite amusing, really. I don't know where it's all come from, but you know, it's been interesting to hear all the stories and find out where I am going. But you know, I can guarantee that I'll be at HRT.
What's the strangest rumour you've heard?
Strangest rumour I've heard. Actually, I think the one that Jason Richards told me, that I was starting my own New Zealand Kiwi team. That was the strangest one, especially I hadn't heard it before, so I can guarantee that's not happening.
Where will you be in 2002?
2002, Kmart Racing is where I am.
Are we supposed to be tacking or something?
I think we are.
Righto.
Bridge climbing and boating, it doesn't even compare with what you're about to see. Stay with us, race 1 is right after the break and we do it Kiwi style. Part of the Shell Championship Series. This is for championship points and there is a title on the line. Can Mark Scaife take it out in this first of 3 100-kilometre events this weekend? This man will be doing his best to stop it, not in a negative fashion, but Craig Lowndes is hungry for another victory. So too is this man, the hero of Pukekohe, Greg Murphy, 3 from 3 back in 1996 here. He wants to do the same in 2001. And look at the crowd, 30-odd thousand packed into the Pukekohe circuit.
Packed in being the operative word. It's fantastic turnout when you think, isn't it? Really, population there and such a massive crowd.
Well, there's no doubt the Kiwis love their motorsport, and particularly V8 Supercar motorsport. And it's been a fantastic reception to the Aussie V8s when they arrived in New Zealand. Let's check out how they start. On the Shell Helix scoreboard, Greg Murphy, brilliant pole position time there. The first man this year to convert a provisional pole into a top 10 shootout pole. Mark Scaife alongside of him got pipped at the end by just 1/10 of a second. Marcus Ambrose, the top placed Ford driver with Todd Kelly alongside. Larry Perkins and Craig Lowndes start out of 5 and 6. Glenn Seaton and Jason Bright complete the top 8.
30-car strong field, Ellery Ingle, Bernard Radicic, Wills making his debut in the Cat Ford, a solo debut that is. Steve Johnson has not really been performing all that well. Can he turn it round in the race? Richards, Stephen and Jason, that is, from 15 and 16.
Mark Larkham and Tony Longhurst. Garth Tander way down the field has been wrestling with that car, not happy over the bumps at all, as to his teammate Jason Bargwana, really struggling. Angus Fogg had a wild moment yesterday, managed to gather it up with only a minimal amount of damage. Paul Romano and Paul Morris also had a big shunt earlier in the week. Anthony Tratton, Rodney Forbes, Thomas Mazera driving the Emery Motorsport car, and John Faulkner in all sorts of dramas. He'll start off last place.
I don't think Thomas Mazera, I don't think I've ever heard him sound worse about the handling of a car.
Well, this is a wild racetrack, Neil Crompton. We've seen throughout practice and qualifying. The bumps are a real challenge to driver and engineer.
They certainly are, and there are a lot of people that have been puzzling over how to come up with the correct equation, how to get the car to ride, pitch and roll properly over these bumps, and in particular this area where our pole sitter Greg Murphy is at the moment. There's a huge bump there at turn 6, and certainly up over the crest of the hill, turn 7, the final turn, as we go on board, and now looking rearward with Russell Ingall. Frustration for him with gearbox jamming in the shootout. And there's the championship leader, Mark Scaife, who was just fractionally outside the pole time set by Greg Murphy. And the character of this circuit is something that everybody's talking about. It's a place where we get to see these cars right on the edge, and it's fantastic.
We're running you through our in-car and on-car cameras. On board with Marcus Ambrose in the Pertec Falcon. Several cameras with Marcus this weekend. Give you various views of the man who was on pole at Bathurst. He's starting from the second row. We climb on board with the Rat, Paul Radicic. A big weekend for Paul in front of his home crowd, and has done so well in the Shell Championship Series since joining it, since returning from the UK. And we've got several cameras in his car as well.
Well, the Shell team's another of many teams struggling to get the handling right over the bumps. Pitching and squatting and rolling around. Shell cars have been a real handful.
Do you know,
have a lot of these cars, Baz.
Oh, starting to drizzle lightly. This should be fun.
Wow.
Do you know, it's funny. Everybody's moaned about setting the cars up, but I haven't heard one person moan so they don't like the circuit.
Check out the Ford race analysis at Pukekohe, New Zealand. 30 starters, 36 laps the distance, or just over 100 kilometres. The pit window opens laps 2 to 26 for a compulsory tyre change, and Greg Murphy is the reigning champion, the king of Pukekohe, they call him.
Green flag from the rear, get ready to go. We're doing it Kiwi style from the front row. Mark Scaife and Greg Murphy. It was pretty much an even start. They're jostling for positions further back. Now this is anxious times as they pile into turn 1. Wait for this, into the boost S's. Greg Murphy leads the way. Listen to the roar of the crowd. Bright's trying to fight his way through. There's contact there with Glenn Seaton. Nothing too major though, and one of the Shell cars cuts the corner.
Go to our cherry picker high above turns 2, 3 and 4. They're out on the back straight the first time, and Greg Murphy has really got the hammer down in the Kmart Commodore. You can see the spots of rain on the camera lens. This could be treacherous if this continues to come down. 265 kilometres an hour, flat out in 6th gear. Hard on the brakes for Holden Hairpin.
Larry Perkins makes an inside move up into the Holden Hairpin. Lowndes has been turned around, and it was Seaton involved in that. The two Shell cars collide. Wow.
Oh dear me, no. I don't know what happened there. It just looks like there was either a brake failure or a brain failure or something. It's very, very quick into that, Neil, wasn't it?
Well, I'd certainly love to see more of that. One of the Kmart cars involved, that's Todd Kelly. So one of the Shell cars just heaving tyre smoke everywhere, and that's Radicic. It's the front left on that car. And I was about to say that I expected to see some chaos going into the hairpin, but not to that extent.
Paul Radicic, massive amounts of smoke billowing from the front left of that. Action on the opening lap of 36, and look at Glenn Seaton's FTR Ford.
Yeah, innocent victim in that. It all happened so quickly. Keep in mind they're closing from enormous speed to a very low speed at the end of that straight.
Ori and the boys are down here at the moment. Look at the damage to the front of the FTR Ford. They've ripped the bumper off it, and as you can see, a lot of damage from that collision for Glenn Seaton. He's going to lose a lot of time in pit lane here. As Greg Murphy returns to the front straight, he's already a lap down.
Pretty catastrophic for Seaton and the FTR team, because once you go a lap down here, you're in terrible trouble. And it's such a short lap in terms of time interval. It's only a 57-second lap, and there's Craig Lowndes and the Gibson Motorsport team, and they've got the knockometers out, and they're doing anything but gentle wheel alignment there.
After starting from 6th on the grid and being rather optimistic, that's where Craig Lowndes sits. Here's the Shell Helix replay. Take a look.
Well, we're seeing... No, he was
got
pushed.
a punt up the back.
He was pushed by the look of it. I think it was
Brighty, was it?
And that's turned him around, and then Seaton was an innocent victim. Now, the question is, was Jason also pushed? This is on board with Lowndes. Turn 5, the hairpin. All of a sudden, that launches him into Kelly.
And look at this chaos break out behind. There's Seaton. That's all the damage. Seaton got hit up the backside as well, trying to avoid that one. Bright's out on the grass. Let's have a look at it from another angle.
I wonder if Jason got his other bump.
That was a hard hit.
And Ingle was caught up in it. Bernard is caught up in it.
Ingle's got a bit of damage on the front of the Castrol Commodore too, and that'll be a good sign for Mark Scaife.
Meanwhile, Murphy has bolted. The margin is extraordinary. He's just disappeared down the road, and I think that Scaife may have peeled off early in taking the opportunity, because remember, there's a compulsory tyre stop, and here he is. Ambrose goes with him. So Murphy has disappeared into the distance, and these guys, it's a critical stop.
One of the Shell Fords coming into pit lane as well. Scaife, watch him, the championship leader, and he's in with a chance of winning the championship here today.
Mark Scaife comes in, boys. We've got the stopwatch rolling on this one for you. To give you an idea, from the moment you enter pit lane, hit the speed limiter, do the stop and exit, it's normally around about 50 seconds in total. 40 seconds just to trundle down the lane, and 10 seconds for the stop, about 13 for the Holden Racing team just to change those tyres.
Scaife will be hoping for some clear track here. Let's ride with Mark Scaife as he re-enters.
Watch for Greg Murphy.
He's come out ahead of Greg Murphy. Murphy is coming across the start-finish line right now, so Scaife will have some clear road. And now Ambrose gets out in front as well.
So if Murphy gets in front of these guys, they're going to go a lap down, but keep in mind Murphy has yet to make his compulsory stop, so it'll only be a temporary situation.
Up onto the back straight. Here's a replay. This is Brad Jones getting tangled up on the opening lap by the looks of things as well, being turned around.
Oh, Mazzera.
There. Thomas Mazzera, evasive action. And it's been a real troublesome weekend for Brad Jones, suffering with an injured back. Let's see what we can make of it from this angle.
And he was given a helping hand too, so it seems.
Paul Romano.
Oh, yeah, definitely, 100% there.
Keep in mind on Jason Richards too, because the Team Kiwi driver is up to 4th out right now as a result of those early stops.
And we understand that Paul Romano has been given a stop-go for that incident, the rundown. And keep in mind, some have pitted, some haven't. It's Murphy, Perkins, Ingle, Richards, Johnson.
And it's real close between Murphy and Ambrose, and I think Murphy's actually rounded him up.
He's got him.
So that's not good news for Ambrose. Remember that Marcus went out on cold tyres, and Greg had the benefit of warm tyres, and that's what's made the difference.
The Kmart Racing team tell me that Greg Murphy is coming in this lap, guys, so Murph is on his way in.
Jason Bright just emerged from the pit lane. There's a lot of cars. Todd Kelly.
The danger, of course, there was that if the safety car came out, then that would have been real bad news. But it's going to work there in their favour, I think, but really nervous times for those teams.
I also think it's not a bad judge coming in a little bit later, if, you know, notwithstanding the safety car possible problem, but that rain now looks like it's gone round the back of us, and it would have been stupid to come in and put a set of slicks on and then come in again for wet.
Murphy's in.
Murphy's just completed the fastest lap of the race too, a 57.83. No one else has done a 57, so he's really been flying in those opening laps. Here he comes in now for this crucial stop, and he really cannot afford to get this wrong. You can look at this 40km/h speed limit, so slow.
Have a listen to the end.
There's always a risk if you get it wrong of going down a lap, because the whole process takes so long, almost a minute by the time you come in and get out again.
See, they've got tennis ball locating the driver. Their driver is aligning the tennis ball with the windscreen and himself, so the car's in perfect position for the crew to make that wheel and tyre change. It's a good efficient stop.
Great idea.
Oh, he's taken a little bit of time off him there with Tander trying to find his way into his slot. Remember, 40 Ks, and one of the reasons for the reduction of the pit speed is to make it a lot safer in those circumstances.
One of the big winners out of that debacle on the opening lap was Jason Bargwanna, who, and keep in mind, they'll all settle down after these pit stops, but Bargwanna has come from 21st to 3rd. And we'll wait for all of this to shake out and settle down. Larry Perkins is the new race leader, but has not pitted as yet.
And the gap between first and second is still substantial, so, and it's going to be Scaife.
7 of 36. Larry Perkins leads the way in the Castrol Commodore. Grant?
A massive destruction down here in pit lane. Stephen Richards, unfortunately, has had a fire underneath the car that is now extinguished. He will play no more part in this race. Bernard also involved in more melee as well. Major damage front left corner of that car.
More action on the track too. Angus Fogg in the 777 Team Kiwi machine lights it up after turning around. He was involved with someone else there. Couldn't quite see who it was. And we saw David Bernard coming around on the inside of the circuit also earlier.
Oh.
He's been having a shocking weekend, Angus Fogg.
2 Kiwis there.
He's got to get the hang of dumping the clutch and spinning it around.
Let's have a look at that from another angle. Faulkner
Poor old
and
Faulkner,
Angus
he
Fogg.
doesn't get a lot of luck, does he?
So, meanwhile, Greg Murphy rejoined that race just in front of Scaife. So, by the time these pit stops have taken effect, it should be Murphy, Scaife. Just watch those other orders tumble down for you.
Brad Jones, after that incident earlier, is in and out, and that's his compulsory pit stop done. It's just for tyres. Naturally, only 36 laps the distance. Perkins continues to lead the way. The order at the moment is Perkins, Morris, Forbes, McConville and Wills, the top 5. Shell Helix race score updating those positions at the bottom of your screen. Everyone hustling in and out to get that pit stop out of the way.
Well, the guys you've got to keep your eye on is back to 11th spot. Greg Murphy, Mark Scaife, Russell Ingall. Incredible performance by the Castrol pit team to leapfrogging from 10th up to 3rd now in terms of the cars that have made their stops. So they're running 11th, 12th and 13th in the queue, but they're effectively your race leaders. Larry Perkins hard at work in the Castrol Commodore. He's your race leader at the moment, but still yet to stop. As to Paul Morris, as to Rodney Forbes, McConville, Wills, Mazera, Fogg, right back to Greg Murphy in 8th, who's rapidly moving up the order as these guys come in for their compulsory stops.
And the longer that Larry stays out, the younger the set of tyres he'll have to operate on in the second half of his segment. So, and that's the advantage of staying out. The disadvantage is that if a pace car comes out, remember the Glen Seaton incident at Eastern Creek this year, you can find yourself trapped.
Larry's trying to find a way past Stephen Johnson in the 17 Shell Helix Ford. We're approaching 3rd race distance. Lap 10 of 36 up into the Holden hairpin. Ambrose is right on. Larry actually just up ahead. Perkins trying to get past. Here is the updated race score at the moment. It'll be different when we return. Greg Murphy back there in 8th position. We're keeping our eye on him in the Kmart Commodore. Mark Scaife in 9th. Steve Johnson 10th and Ingall in 11th. More after this. Problems for Cameron McConville in the Lansvale Smash Repairs car. He's got problems on that left side. Perkins is in, so he is completing his pit stop.
He'll be pretty well placed, Lee. I think he was something like 45 seconds in front before he peeled off into his stop. So it'll be interesting to see where he rejoins this track in relation to Greg Murphy and Mark Scaife.
I asked him what the difference was this round to the others, and he just said, yeah, I like this place. I've made a few changes within the team, and we're going well.
Well, he is going well, isn't he, really? And after all, he isn't that old, is he?
No, that's right.
So Murphy's gone past. And there's Larry rejoining the track in front of Mark Scaife. So Larry will move to 2nd in the order. That was good work by the Castrol team. The veterans right up the front.
Remember that Mark's on fully warm tyres and Larry's on cold tyres, which means he'll be vulnerable when they go to the end of the back straight for turn 5
First
for
time
sure.
around, yep, keep an eye on that. Here's McConville limping in.
But as you say, Neil, he's thinking it worked perfectly. He's going to have better rubber, isn't he, at the end of the day? So, or the end of the race, rather.
So Larry will be in defensive mode, and there's McConville's problem. So deflated front left, is it?
Looks like it.
I'd like to thank TVNZ for providing the coverage for us today.
Paul Morris is in. He was the race leader shortly after Perkins pitted, but now will jostle back down the order. And it's been a fairly tough weekend for the Queensland-based team. A massive crash in the earlier practice session.
I can tell you that Scaife has got in front of Perkins as predicted, and that's the difficulty when you go out on cold tyres.
New race leader at the moment, that is Caterpillar Ford driver Simon Wills, but that will change very shortly as well. His solo debut, of course, he shared this car with John Bowe, the Queensland 500 and at the V8 Supercar 1000, but he's all on his lonesome in there. John Bowe not with the team any longer in 2001.
The order at the front, Simon Wills leading this one. Thomas Mazira, Greg Murphy is now up to third place on the road, but he's effectively the race leader. Mark Scaife. Behind him, Larry Perkins, Russell Ingall in sixth. Ingall closest to Mark Scaife in the championship chase.
So those quicker guys climbing their way up towards the front. Greg Murphy is in third at the moment. Scaife is fourth and fifth. And Mark Scaife, we understand, has got past Greg Murphy.
Just confirm that for you. There's a bit of confusion here with the cars coming in and making out their stops. So we're watching this battle continuing out the back.
Simon Wills continues the chase as we grind on. Lap 13 of 36 here at Pukekohe. Round 12 of the Shell Championship Series. You can see the sky above. It's looking rather threatening as we grind on in this one.
Light sprinkling down here in pit lane at the moment. Still not a major issue for the competitors. You're talking about Simon Wills. He has not done his pit stop yet. Could it be, Neil, that this is one of the teams to elect to get a lot longer life out of their left rear tyre, which takes a real bit of torturing around the Pukekohe circuit?
Well, that's certainly the strategy, and what they're hoping to also get for him, Greg, is to try and provide him with clear air, but that's something that he's not getting at the moment because he's actually involved in a battle. And
his lap times are suffering as a result too. He's done a 58.5 on the previous lap.
Look at this little bit of
Murphy and Scaife are both in the high 57s, so he's dropping about 6 or 7 tenths of a second a lap to those two Commodores coming charging through the pack. Up through turns 6 and 7.
Well, the old rat ain't giving up easy, mate, on his back, is he?
And I noticed that Paul had his wiper on then, and that suggests that there is a sprinkle of rain again in that end of the circuit. So remember that he doesn't want to go a lap down.
Something may have happened to Larry Perkins too. We're watching on our timing monitor. He was right up there in the lead bunch. He's slipped right back. He's back to 20th place now.
Yeah.
So we hear Perkins is actually headed for pit lane. That's a shame. He did a great job.
Pity.
Keep in mind on the Show Helix race score where you see the blue P, that is when the driver has performed that compulsory pit stop. And there's blank beside, they have not.
Oh, there's Larry rejoining the circuits. That really hurt the veteran. And Radisich providing real resistance here for Wills.
Wipers are really going now, so there's obviously some rain down there.
Yeah, Neil, the rain is actually getting a little bit heavier, but I can also tell you Larry Perkins thought he had a flat front tyre. He pitted, the tyre's actually okay, so a bit of bad luck there for Larry.
Frustration for Perkins, 15 of 36. Simon Wills powering on up front, but he has yet to perform his pit stop.
Well, I tell you what, if the skies open up now, he's going to be in the pound seats, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a brave call to leave him out there this long. But maybe they've figured out some sort of strategy that we've not cottoned onto up here in the box. But and the window closes on lap 26.
So he's still got 10 laps to play with.
He still has a lot of time to play with, and the thing that he's hoping for is, and obviously this is figured all around a dry track, is to reduce the amount of time that he beats up on the left rear tyre here. And that's an area of great weakness on these cars. Big, heavy cars, high speeds. Two corners, turns 5 and turns 4, where you're really in low gear. This is one of them where you come out and give the left rear tyre a real bad time. And then, of course, you've got turns 6 and 7, the last two corners, and turn 1 where you load the lateral side, the left side of the car laterally very heavily, and that's hard on the tyre as well.
It's a nice strategy. The trouble is it's costing him time. He's just gone 8 tenths of a second slower than Greg Murphy that lap around, so it's not working in terms of giving him clear track position, trying to open up that gap. It's actually costing him time, this strategy.
Fastest lap for Greg Murphy, 57.8.
That was set on lap 5.
And
Murphy's just done a 57.1. So he's really pushing hard in the Kmart car.
That's still half a second outside Glenn Seaton's existing lap record from 96 of a 57.3. And look at Greg Murphy really pushing the Kmart Commodore as hard as he can. A victory here would make it, well, 3 from 3 so far. He was quickest after qualifying. Then he got pole. And a race win is exactly what he wants in the script for this weekend. The Boost Mobile on board.
Sorry, Lee, the rain's not really affecting lap times dramatically at the moment. For example, the last time through for Mark Scape, it was about a mid-58. And that's Murphy's car, and boy, was it on the replica at the end of the main straight. Quite a long way. So getting good drive off turn 4 and good pace in a straight line. And so obviously to do that, he's still got grip on the road.
Les Laidlaw and John Briggs and the boys down here at Cat Racing had the tyres out, standing by for Simon Wills to come in about a lap and a half ago. They've since put them back in the garage. Every 20 seconds or so, the team walk out of the pit garage. They take a look skyward. Is it going to rain? That's the gamble they're banking on at the moment.
It's a big question, isn't it? Greg Murphy with the lights on, just to let the slower cars know he's coming through. At the moment, it's Wills and Murphy, Mazira, Scaife, Ingle, Ambrose, Bright, Jason Richards. An outstanding performance in race 1. Johnson and Tander, the top 10. That's how they stand at the moment. 18 down and 18 to go.
Murphy's continuing to lap consistently faster than Simon Wills. That previous lap of 58.5 for Wills, a 57.9 for Murphy's taken another 0.6 of a second off the Caterpillar Ford. So no doubt the Cat team are just hoping to get a big downpour, and that's where they'll get the advantage, because everyone will have to come in for wet weather tyres.
Through Ford Mountain one more time, and it's been an impressive run from Simon Wills. He continues to lead the way, but see a blank next to his name. He has not pitted as yet. Likewise for Thomas Mazira. All the other guys, the major players, are right there and in contention. It's playing into the hands of Greg Murphy. Wheel back in 13th, still yet to pit as well. More at Pukekohe after this short break. The crowd at Pukekohe are enjoying a Kiwi in front. His first V8 Supercar drive as a solo driver, if you like that. Not in a team environment where he was paired with John Bowe at Queensland and Bathurst. He's doing it on his own, Simon Wills. And if it rains quite severely, he is looking pretty.
Yeah, quite an outstanding record over the last 3 years. 3 championships in 3 years, in fact. 2 Australian Drivers' Championships in Formula Holden, and then, of course, claiming the Contender series for V8 Supercars this year. Really on a roll, Simon Wills, and his first solo performance for the Caterpillar Ford operation.
I asked him earlier, is he enjoying it? He said, boy, have I learned a lot this weekend.
Yeah. Baptism of fire. Look at that damage on the side of Stephen Johnson's car. Shell cars have been all at sea this weekend. Johnson running back in 9th.
Look at that huge suspension travel cars are getting through turns 6 and 7. These are the sorts of bumps like we saw initially at Canberra the first time the V8 Supercars went to the GMC 400. A couple of severe bumps down there. In terms of metric language, the rear suspension on some of the cars is moving it up to 1 metre per second, which in terms of shock velocity is huge.
Massive, yeah. So Simon Wills continuing to lead this one. Greg Murphy 17 seconds behind, but consistently lapping faster than the Caterpillar Ford. Wills is just under 58.6.
If you look at Wills's car in the really bumpy left-hander, the big bumpy left-hander, it rides that really well, didn't it?
Yeah, and it's fabulous to stand up there. I watched in the earlier practice session, the initial practice sessions, and it was very interesting to see the behaviour of various cars up there. You can certainly see the different approach that various teams have to the problem. And these guys are doing a great job at the moment, but this is one of the cars that bottoms pretty heavy. Look at the tyre or guard smoke there as the tyre bottoms out in the guard on a couple of occasions. One where there's quite a severe bump, and another one where there's a joint in the road where there's been some resurfacing done.
He's doing a terrific job, Jason Richards, in the Team really Kiwi car. Inside the top 10, he's in 8th. This is the battle for 8th between himself, Stephen Johnson and Garth Tander.
And those guys need this kind of sugar. They need a good result. It's been a hard year for them, and they've had to go to new circuits, had to learn the way in which the car works, and they've probably done it many instances without the best gear. They're starting to get the car to work. They've got some better gear, and Jason's doing a great job.
Jason Richards at the head of this pack, but get ready to see Simon Wills pit. That pit window is closing quite quickly. He only has 4 laps left to complete that compulsory pit stop. 4 tyres. He's currently leading at the moment, but that won't be the case in a handful of laps.
Greg Murphy is consistently lapping quicker than Wills. He's just taken another 0.6 of a second on that lap So the Kmart Commodore absolutely flying. We saw it on the rev limiter at the end of the back straight. And that shows that he's running out of gears. That engine is really hauling the mail, as we've seen by the Kmart cars all year. And we've just got this potentially treacherous weather situation. It's just hovering around. A few spots of rain everywhere. People have got a feeling that it may dump down in any minute. But it may stay dry to the end of this one.
It does look like, but when you look out the wind, you swear blind it'll pour any minute.
Well, this is the area where it's raining, and look at Richards. The wiper went on.
And if the Cat guys get this right, then it'll be a great strategy. Les Laidlaw, he's a Kiwi, so maybe he knows something about the weather here.
It ain't great.
Les has been involved in many top-line teams, and he's certainly been around a long time, a very seasoned campaigner, and that wiper remaining on. Now it goes off on the team Kiwi Racer.
Look at the battle between Garth Tander and Stephen Johnson to stay inside the top 10. Tander is in 10th spot. Meanwhile, back toward the front. Mark Skaife is in 3rd position. It's effectively 2nd because they're still waiting for Wills to make that stop. He hasn't got enough time on these guys, nowhere near enough. 17 seconds up the road from Murphy.
Well, we keep talking about it's looking good for the Cat Ford and Simon Wills if it pours heavily. What about the car in front of Mark Skaife, the green machine, the Europe car Commodore of Thomas Mazira? He hasn't pitted yet either. So he is in exactly the same position as Simon Wills.
Well, this is going to be a brilliant move by Les Laidlaw, the Ford team manager. If he holds him out there long enough for this rain to become an issue.
Oh, that's still the Richards car.
There aren't too many people in the world that can predict weather, and
even the weather forecast.
That's right, especially the weather forecasters.
Life after V8 Supercar.
Oh, there's a bit of a fight going on there with the wheel.
The rain's starting to come down now.
Oh, how good would this be?
This could be perfect for the Caterpillar Ford team if it continues to come down. What's the situation in terms of slick tyre performance, Neil? You've actually got to get to a situation where you've got puddles on the road before they become ineffective.
Guys, you can get an idea. The rain is starting to fall a little bit heavier. It's still a bit misty, but it's heavier than it's been for the bulk of the race. The Cat team tell me one more lap before Simon Wills comes in, and look what's standing by.
Well, they've got nothing to lose, have they, really? I mean, they might just as well take a punt, but it's got to be a lot wetter than this before it's going to work, though, Neil.
Correct, and to go back and address Mark's question, what you've really got to do, and it's sometimes very difficult to make the assessment, Mark, while you've got heat in slick tyres, you can actually still crank out some reasonable numbers, and if you look at lap times at the moment, they're still only a couple of seconds away from optimum. Now, before you go back into sort of, wet weather lap time performance, you've got to wipe 7, 8, 9 seconds off a lap time. So you've kind of got a window. Once you start to get on this track, I'd imagine 6, 7, 8 seconds out of the normal lap time, it's time to start thinking about wets, and we're nowhere near there yet.
Greg Murphy just did a lap 2 seconds faster than Simon Wills that previous lap.
You'd definitely say it wouldn't be the right thing now.
Not right at the moment. No, you need actually to have water on the road, because the reason for the blocks and the channels in the tyre is to pump the water away. And as you can clearly see at the moment, looking at Marcus Ambrose, there's no water on the road, but it has lost some grip. It is a little slippery. You've got to brake a little early. You've got to apply the power just a little more gently, but there's not water all over the place.
Just to indicate how costly that stop was earlier for Larry Perkins after leading, and Wills is in. Perkins is way back down the order in 20th position.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, you've got to applaud these teams that take a gamble. They're prepared to roll the dice, move themselves up the field. Hasn't quite paid off here, but it could easily have.
And it could actually work against them now if, in fact, they all do have to go on wets before the checkered flag comes out. It can actually work as a double backfire.
Yeah.
So the slicks are going on, not the wets, for Simon Wills in the Caterpillar Ford. And Greg Murphy inherits the lead. The Kiwi leads on the New Zealand circuit.
And 11 laps to run.
Yeah, 58.6, and Mark Skaife is just under 13 seconds behind Murphy in 2nd place. Russell Ingall in 3rd.
See, the last lap through for Skaife was a 59.7. So, that's only fractionally, in percentage terms, it's not an awful lot slower than what you'd call an ideal lap. And in fact, given that the left rear tyre doesn't like this,
what's going on here?
There's some aggravation here, is there?
And look at how greasy the track's getting.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, we've got a car in major trouble going down the back straight.
Oh,
Jason
right.
Bryce.
Right. What's that look like? An engine?
That looks like a major mechanical failure there. Looks like oil smoke coming out of the back of that car. Look at the stream
was going slow as well.
of smoke he's laid down the back there.
Up into the Holden hairpin. Here's the replay. What can we make of this? Marcus Ambrose going through on the inside of Russell Ingall, and Brian tries to squeeze through as well.
That's really bad for Russell Ingall.
Yeah, it is.
And perfect for Mark Scaife.
Remember, those two are actually competing for minor
points,
positions in the championship at the moment.
Oh, look at the rain now.
That smoke must have been from that front.
Hang on, what's happened here?
He can't get around. He can't get around. Yeah.
That smoke must have been coming from a front right tyre rubbing against the guard.
It's going to get fun and games now. Look at the circuit now.
Oh yeah, it's wet now.
It's definitely wet.
Now it is time for wet. So the worst thing for Simon Wills there was
exactly
that whole gamble. They're only maybe a minute or two out of sync in for wets.
I wonder Mark Scaife.
What about Thomas Mazzeo?
Yeah.
Did Tom come in for wet tyres or not?
Yes.
Critical situation here for Mark Scaife. Championship is hanging in the balance.
And when Scaife goes for wets, you know that it's certainly time for it. He would have hung on if he could. Oh, Marcus is in front of him.
And Rose has come in for wets. He's come out just a fraction in front of the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Here comes Greg Murphy. He was our race leader, but he's been caught out as well.
And that last half lap for Murphy on a very wet track on slicks will have hurt his time. Scaife and Ambrose are the better positioned at the moment.
Yep, they chose to come in.
Poor old Simon
track
Wills.
position. Here comes Greg Murphy. Kmart team well drilled. Wet tyres going on. Boy, oh boy, it's all come alive here.
I tell you, that Cat team was so unlucky.
I know, it's such a shame. It's actually right.
Well, as I said, I really applaud the teams that are prepared to roll the dice. They rolled it, but it just didn't come up with the number they wanted.
Yeah, now we've got, you can see a genuinely wet track. There's spray behind the cars, and it's very dark. It's headlights on.
Russell Ingall is still on the track, meanwhile. Here he is. He's still on slick tyres. And this could be a huge gamble for Russell Ingall. I wonder if he's going to decide to stay out there or not.
Lap 27 of 36. We're running out of time. We're running out of laps. And Russell Ingall, he's rolling the dice himself.
Well, there's the critical championship development here coming into this race. Oh, we've had problems. What's going on? A bit of an overlap in pit lane. Jason Bargwanna and the Shell team battling for pit position here.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Jason Bargwanna was making his way into pit lane to pick up his wets. Paul Radicic was leading. They both jammed. They had nowhere to go. They were stalled there for about 5 seconds. Everybody within the teams were arguing with each other, but now they're back out again.
Russell Ingall has decided to come in for wet weather tyres as well. We thought the enforcer might have been playing the ultimate gamble here.
That really would have been the ultimate gamble as well.
I saw Paul's car go backwards, and I was curious to see whether or not he was pulled backwards or whether he grabbed reverse, because if he grabs reverse, that's against the rules. And
oh, really?
Well, absolutely. So it'd be interesting to see what that was all about.
Russell Ingall bearing the battle scars from that opening lap skirmish down at Holden Hairpin. Wet weather tyres going on. And Russell Ingall can see his championship hopes slipping away here. Falling into Mark Scaife's lap. Well called strategy by HRT to bring Scaife in when they did. That's given him a very strong track position.
Larkham currently leads the way on a very slick and slippery Pukekohe circuit. It's going to get interesting in these last handful of laps. Stay with us. Second last round of the Shell Championship Series, and it is very, very slippery at Pukekohe, sideways style from one of the Shell Helix cars and Mark Larkham. Very treacherous conditions at the moment.
I tell you what does amaze me, Neil, that no one's gone off on that fast right-hander onto the start and finish straight, just there.
Well, I don't think too many people would be looking for the last millimetre in the dry. Lots of people were looking for the last millimetre, but not in these conditions.
Yeah, these guys have not run in wet conditions all week, so this is the first time Anthony Tratt in the Toll IPEC Ford. He's come off at Holden Hairpin. Has caught a number of competitors out today. Very easy to misjudge your braking coming from a high speed to a very low speed corner, particularly in these conditions.
Similar conditions to the Queensland 500 where they were sliding everywhere. As you can see, there's 6 laps to run here at Pukekohe.
We'll bring you up to date. Oh, Team Kiwi, Angus Fogg in trouble again.
Now this may produce a red flag too.
75% of race distance completed.
And I understand that Murphy's stop was effective, and he's actually managed to come out in front of Scaife, even though he had to do that extra sort of half lap, if you like, on a wet track with slicks. It was still enough pace to keep him in position. There's
in front of Scaife and Ambrose.
Yes.
That's in a very precarious position there, Neil. I'm sure you'd agree. That's right at the end of the back straight, huh?
Yeah, difficult spot. And in these conditions, the race director will be well aware that other people could end up in there and slam into that car. So there'll be some discussion in race control at the moment as to whether or not that red flag should be brought out.
Tell you what, if they hold out the red flag now, this falls into Mark Larkham's lap. He's still out there on slick tyres. And I was going to say Paul Morris was the other guy out on slick tyres.
Dear me.
But he's just paid the price of staying on the slicks. Look at the damage on the big Kev car. Had a monster crash earlier in the week. They've managed to get the car repaired, and once again he's tasted the Armco.
Here's the Shell Helix replay. Watch this. The Lowndes goes through on the inside.
Oh, well, that was where we were talking about.
He was, right where you were talking about, Barry, and he ended up out of the wheel tracks. That was the problem there, and on that surface to the outside, the car just takes off, and he was a passenger.
And there is Terry Morris and the team. As Paul Morris is all out of shape in a very dangerous position. This is your race leader, and these are the top two. Murphy is chasing. This is first and second on the road. Greg Murphy on wet tyres. Mark Larkham on slicks as Murph pulls out and up the back straight. Takes the lead yet again.
So Mark Larkham hanging around out there on slick tyres. I wonder if he's going to try and stay out there for the distance. Yellow flags waving to warn competitors about that stranded Morris car.
How brave is that boy staying out there on slick tyres? Look at those conditions. They're just treacherous. But answering that question before, Paul Radicic, he did grab reverse gear.
This is your race leader, car 51. The Kmart Commodore Larkham's off.
Oh, he's had a bit of a shunt as well. Well, that corner must be carrying a lot of water because that's exactly where Morris went off the previous lap.
And that's really in a dangerous place there.
Oh, once you get those slick tyres up on that body of water, you're gone.
Larkham out of the car and just getting out of harm's way. Greg Murphy leads the way from Ambrose and Scaife at the moment.
Now Russell Ingall is closing in dramatically on Mark Scaife. Keep in mind, Ingall has to finish in front of Scaife to keep the championship alive in this race. So this is incredible pressure.
This condition got Russell's handwriting all over it. And look at it.
How crook's that?
Oh, dear me.
Can you believe it? Well, Greg Murphy's the race leader.
And Grant confirmed to us there a moment ago, in all the activity, it's hard to pick up every little fact, but Grant was saying that he did grab reverse gear in the pit lane. Probably had no other choice, I might mention, but that's something that you can't do.
Look how carefully he's taking it. Yellow flags waving. You can hear the crowd cheering on Greg Murphy in these treacherous conditions. 9.6 seconds the lead, and it is absolutely bucketing down. It's a deluge right now.
Anthony Tratter's gone off too, guys, not far from where Mark Larkham is and where Paul Morris spun off. Now, I've spoken to a couple of the teams. The concern is there is something down on the track.
Red flag.
Red flag's out. It's the end of it.
Red flag. The race has been stopped. The race has been stopped. Now, keep in mind, the red flag is shown. The race result is declared from the lap previous to when the red flag was shown.
There's Rob Crawford and the Kmart team from TWR Australia. Greg Murphy qualifying was fastest, pole position and the race one victory. It's a repeat of 1996. Well, we're getting close to it anyway.
Jason Richards, 4th place. How about that? That's
two other outstanding efforts there. Tony Longhurst and Garth Tander as well.
Just remember what Mark said, that you've got to backdate the results.
Yeah, you're right.
So that just be careful we don't get trapped.
But if conditions remain as they are, or the positions remain as they are, Mark Scaife ahead of Russell Ingall. Scaife has just claimed his 4th Shell Championship Series title in the most difficult conditions imaginable. We'll just confirm those finishing positions for you. But if he has finished in front of Russell, that is the championship for the reigning champ, back-to-back.
And it's handy for Ingall because Bright is way down the list there, so points-wise.
Wow, what a race. We haven't had rain for 2 days previous. And now it's absolutely come down at the critical moment.
And changed so aggressively too. It was beautiful sunshine earlier in the day.
Oh, look at the outside now.
Quickly.
Whoa, you want to say outside our commentary box, you got the visibility's down to about 1 kilometre.
Into the land of the long grey cloud now, hasn't it?
Whoa.
Well done, Greg Murphy. Keeps his perfect Pukekohe record intact. He has not been beaten here in a V8 Supercar.
That was an eventful race, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. It was a shame for the cat mob, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. You roll the dice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you win when you gamble, and it didn't pay off for them. A couple more laps, they would have been looking like heroes.
And in the end, Simon Wills dropped to 11th position, but we're waiting for the official results. After that race was red flag short on lap 32 of 36. Greg Murphy will be absolutely delighted.
Well, guys, I'm down here in pit lane with a pretty delighted Kmart racing team and their driver, Greg Murphy. What about the 4 seasons in one day here?
Mate, I just, when was the last time I think I won one by crossing the checkered flag? Getting worried about that, but it's great. And air conditions obviously changeable, obviously. And it was a, you know, I didn't know if it was going to get worse, but we made the right call. And obviously, it's absolutely pelted down, so they made the right decision by red flagging it too, obviously.
I could hear you on the radio talking to Rob Crawford, and Rob saying to you, look, it's your call. Is it wet enough? Do you want to come in? Scaife and the Holden Racing Team guys came in a lap earlier than you, and the concern was that maybe you were a little late on the call.
No, I don't think so. If I'd been another lap, certainly it would have been too late, because it really was raining. And as I came out of the hairpin, I looked up and the sky was just like a sea of clouds, so that was the time to come in, and we timed it right. Local knowledge played a bit of a hand in this one, you reckon, hey? Oh no, just keep my eyes open.
Congratulations, Murphs.
Cheers.
What a tremendous drive from Greg Murphy, and he's played the weekend just perfectly. Had the 1 lap speed, and now he's shown that teamwork and sensible driving has paid off in very, very trying conditions. Grant?
Well, the news is, Mark Scaife, you are the new champion. Again, your 4th title. How was that? That was enough points to beat Russell Ingall.
Well, I mean, just unbelievable, Grant, to do it, you know, a couple of years in a row, and the lads, they got a rough noggin on the front of this picture, and I mean, to them, really, they've just done an outstanding job all year. That's Robbie 4 in a row, Robbie Starr, and, you know, this field is pretty tough. And that's the toughest way to win it, I can tell you.
I think they're a little happy too, mate.
I know, they're a bit out of control. I'll come in tomorrow and they'll be having ice creams in the pit stops.
How was this, though, year for you? It was tough for everybody, but in those big double points rounds, you were always there. They were the key.
Yeah, look, I mean, we had a shocker at Adelaide, but the rest of the year we did a great job. And, you know, some days when you can't quite win it, you've got to get the points. And it's been one of those years. It's been outstanding, and you know, I'd really like to thank Holden and the rest of our sponsors. We've got it again.
I think Pukekohe might be something special for you in the future.
Well, not when it's like this, but I mean, I just couldn't see out of the windscreen at all. And the boys were telling me on the radio to be careful. Of course I was being careful. I didn't know where I was on the track, so it was a very, very tough day.
Congratulations, Mark Scaife, our new champion.
Thanks, mate.
And Mark has said in the lead up to this weekend's round that if he can do it on Saturday, he'll be able to just enjoy himself on Sunday. Gets congratulated from John Stevenson, John Crennan in the background there as well.
That's a bad caricature, isn't it? Thanks. Man, really may have won the championship in the dodgy drawing, isn't it? Oh,
well,
dear, man.
aren't they an awesome combination? Mark Scaife from the Holden Racing Team. Robbie Starr is chief mechanic there. As he said, 4 in a row. Previously worked on Craig Lowndes' car, switched over to Scaife's car last year. And those two have formed an incredible combination. Greg Murphy, though, the winner. 8.6 seconds up the road for Marcus Ambrose in the end. Brilliant drive from the rookie in second. Mark Scaife, though, he's the new Shell Series champion for the 4th time in his amazing career. Jason Richards, look at that. What a great drive by Team Kiwi to end up in the top 4. Russell Ingall, well, he's going to be the bridesmaid again, it looks like.
A little further back, Larry Perkins in 13th. Bargwana did well to come from 21st to 10th. Stephen Johnson moved forward as well. Poor old Simon Wills, and Brad Jones ending up just behind Paul Radisich in 16th position.
Jason Bright, David Bernard, you can see the results there too. 3 laps down, and DNF meaning did not finish. And there's an awful lot of those on the race score.
Glenn Seaton was tangled up right from the word go in quite an eventful first lap. Greg?
I'm down here in pit lane at the moment with a pretty disappointed Russell Ingall. Is this shades of the Queensland 500 all over again for you?
It's a bit that way, isn't it? A little bit better, at least everyone kept going. Yeah, an interesting for the last few laps, but I mean, I suppose the most disappointing part is seeing another championship go out the door for another year. And look, good on to Scaife, and HRT did a fantastic job all year. Congratulate them on the championship, but looks like second again.
Yeah, what is it with you and the bridesmaid tag, hey?
Oh, I tell you what, if I was a woman, I'd be changing my sex, I think. Yeah, a bit tough to handle, I suppose. 6 years, 3 years coming second, and all 3 to HRT too. So I don't know what I'm going to do to beat these dudes.
Well, I think the simple message is, isn't it, that all the gloves are off for the remaining races of the championship?
Well, we've got 2 races tomorrow, so that'll be a bit of fun. A few square-ups, and then we got Sandown for sure. Like Lee Scaife can go for it, and we can have a true battle, see if we can get one up on him.
You've been quiet and well-behaved all season. We're looking forward to seeing the real enforcer for the remainder of the championship. Well done, mate.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, Cams are missing his donations, aren't they, really?
Well, Russell Ingall, he'll be able to enjoy himself, but he'll have to keep a close eye because Bright is still there, and further back in those minor placings, Greg Murphy has done well. There was only 2 points between he and Stephen Richards in the top 5. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from race 1 this weekend. It all happened on the opening lap.
Got a big hit there. Lowndes got turned around, set off a domino effect, a chain reaction. Look at them all fall. Just gets a bit later in the race. This was the incident with Brad Jones and Paul Romano. Fortunately, everyone getting away relatively unscathed. And here's another incident with Angus Fogg and John Faulkner. Fogg getting sideways, Faulkner takes avoiding action, and they both spin.
There was plenty of action. This is one again involving Jason Bright. Ambrose squeezes through on Engel, and then there's contact here, and Russell Engel has sent spinning through the S's. That was when the rain began to come down, but it came down even heavier. Watch this contact. Paul Morris spins on the outside of turn 7. A very fast and dangerous area, especially with the track as wet as it was. Mark Larkham also spun there. Anthony Tratt was yet another one, going round and round and round.
Look at the water.
Very, very tricky and trying conditions. It was an entertaining race 1, and Greg Murphy and the Kmart team are celebrating. More right after this.